The story of the devil stretches across thousands of years of belief, fear, and tradition. People shaped this figure long before modern religion. The idea came from a simple question that troubled every old culture. They needed a way to explain harm, suffering, cruelty, and inner conflict. They needed a figure who stood on the other side of moral law, a figure who tempted, pushed, and challenged. Early groups lived with storms, sickness, and sudden death. They feared wild animals, starvation, and war. When tragedy struck, they looked for patterns or reasons. These questions helped shape the first versions of dark spirits. None of these early spirits looked like the later devil, but they formed the foundation. They showed how people viewed harm as something driven by intelligent forces rather than random chaos. In Mesopotamian stories, harmful spirits held power over sickness and fear. Figures like Pazuzu or Lamashtu influenced births, winds, and disease. They represented the side of life that brought danger. These figures mattered because they showed how early people linked destructive forces with defined personalities. They placed names, traits, and stories onto forces they did not understand. Over time, each culture brought its own ideas. Egypt had spirits tied to darkness and chaos. Greece had gods and creatures that punished pride. Persia shaped a cosmic struggle between a force of truth and a force of destruction. Each culture fed into a growing idea that the world held a powerful enemy of order. In early Hebrew writings, the figure named Satan held a clear role. The word meant accuser. This figure tested people, challenged their loyalty, and pushed them to face moral weakness. Many old stories show him acting inside a divine court. He pointed out flaws. He questioned motives. He played a role inside a larger system. He did not rule fire. He did not stand in open rebellion. He served as a challenger. This version stood far from the modern devil, but it set the stage for a more complex idea. Later generations expanded his personality. Writers connected this figure with pride, corruption, and deceit. This shift grew slowly across centuries through sermons, folklore, and new interpretations. During the Second Temple period, new writings explored the idea of fallen spirits. These stories described powerful beings who rejected divine order, broke sacred rules, and suffered punishment. They guided humans toward violence and forbidden knowledge. These stories shaped early versions of a cosmic rebel. They also influenced Christian thought. Over time, writers linked Satan with the idea of a fallen angel who sought his own rule. This shift turned the challenger into a leader of rebels. The story gained details, layers, and symbolism. It offered an explanation for evil that reached beyond human choice. It introduced the idea of a spiritual force that sought influence over the world. Early Christian texts and later church leaders expanded the story further. They shaped a figure who influenced rulers, tempted saints, and sparked conflict. They placed him at the center of moral struggle. This version fought against divine truth. This version sought control over human souls. The idea of a cosmic battle between light and dark grew stronger. During these centuries, writers shaped much of the imagery people still know. Horns, fire, serpents, trickery, and forbidden knowledge all grew from old stories mixed together. These traits came from Greek satire, medieval art, and cultural fears. The devil became the symbol of everything that threatened order or moral strength. During the Middle Ages, belief in the devil influenced law, daily life, and public fear. Leaders used this figure to warn people about pride and disobedience. Stories spread about deals, curses, or strange creatures who served him. Many believed he sent harmful spirits to stalk villages. Others believed he whispered to rulers and caused wars. Witch trials grew out of this fear. People who stood out, disagreed with authority, or lived in isolation often became targets. Many accusations had no truth. They grew from fear, rumor, and poor understanding of sickness or mental struggle. Still, these events show how strong the devil figure had become in the public mind. Artists and writers shaped the devil in new ways during the Renaissance and early modern period. In works like Dante, Inferno, the devil appears as a frozen, broken figure trapped in his own rebellion. In Milton, Paradise Lost, the devil gains a tragic voice filled with pride and grief. These versions influenced centuries of thought. They shaped how later cultures viewed temptation, rebellion, and the cost of ambition. Writers used the figure to explore deep moral questions. Why do people choose harm over good? Why do they chase influence, even when it destroys them? What drives pride so far that it breaks all loyalty? These stories use the devil to reflect human nature, not only spiritual belief. In folklore, the devil often appeared as a trickster. He offered wealth or fame in return for loyalty. These stories warned people about greed and shortcuts. Many tales ended with failure for the person who accepted the deal. These stories taught moral lessons. They showed how quick gains lead to regret and ruin. They also shaped the image of the devil as cunning, patient, and strategic. He waited for people at their weakest point. He promised comfort at the cost of long-term pain. These warnings influenced village traditions and popular storytelling across Europe and North America. As the modern world grew, the devil gained new forms in art and media. Writers explored possession, temptation, manipulation, and psychological fear. Movies shaped new images. Some focused on ritual themes. Others explored inner conflict. Many used the devil to symbolize human cruelty or abuse of power. Horror stories linked him with occult symbols and dark rites. These ideas hold strong influence in modern culture. They appear in books, games, shows, and films. They shape how people think about unseen forces or moral danger. Even people who hold no religious belief still recognize the figure because he represents something deeper than myth. He represents the harmful side of human choice. The story of the devil grew so large because every culture faces moral conflict. People fight anger, selfish desire, pride, and fear. They face pressure from others. They face temptation to take control through harmful means. The devil's story speaks to these struggles. It gives a simple shape to inner danger. It shows how small choices can open the door to larger ruin. It warns that pride leads to downfall. It warns that influence gained through force or manipulation harms both the victim and the one who seeks it. The figure survives across time because these lessons stay relevant. The devil also reflects how people view freedom. He represents the desire to rule without restraint. He rejects discipline. He rejects humility. He chooses ego over community. This struggle appears in many stories because people face it within themselves. The figure forces you to ask questions about your own choices. Do you chase influence at any cost? Do you let anger guide your actions? Do you place yourself above others in harmful ways? The devil's story functions as a mirror that shows the danger of selfish desire. Across all eras, the devil changes, yet the core message stays stable. He represents the side of life that fights truth, compassion, and loyalty. He thrives in confusion and fear. He grows stronger when people lose discipline. He symbolizes moral collapse, not only spiritual threat. This broad meaning keeps him relevant across cultures. The story of the devil continues to evolve. Scholars study old texts. Artists make new films. Writers find new angles. Each version adds something new to the idea. Each generation uses the figure to explain fear or inner struggle. The devil remains a central symbol of the fight between wisdom and impulse. He remains one of the most studied figures in human history because he speaks to something deep inside people: the fear of losing control, the fear of moral failure, the fear of becoming the cause of your own destruction. In the end, the devil's story endures because it offers a clear warning. Every person faces choices that shape who they become. Every person carries impulses that lead toward harm if left unchecked. The devil's story turns these struggles into a narrative you can understand. It teaches discipline. It teaches self-awareness. It teaches caution toward pride. And it reminds you that darkness grows through small steps, not sudden leaps.